Julie here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Moon Hour and Jupiter Night. The moon is in Aries, and because it's ruled by Mars, that is albeit a trine to Saturn and Jupiter. Yes, 29 degrees Mars. Shouldn't I with Jupiter? This Mars is opposing Uranus Sedna. That's what I'm cautious about, which means it also opposes my Chiron, so I will wait with that. But I'm going to upload a video, and I really want you to watch this video by Cressy, because Mars is on my lot of divination, and the thing I said about the Scorpio new moon, and the many things I said in my videos, are basically one-on-one pretty much correlating. And my addition is the sexual sovereignty part. And it validates something that I just want you to hear that from Cressy, and my comment is there. So that's the one, the new moon in Scorpio. And this is, I don't remember what I talked about in this video. Yes, probably something important. And I don't remember what I said. I just remember there was a should I, shouldn't I. Oh, with the coffee. Okay, people who are triggered, just watch tenderly if you need to. So Mars on my lot of divination, and the prediction is around real estate. Really, really correlates to Crassy's videos about the prophecy versus Master Bain Saduno, uh, Baba. I don't remember what is the name of the female prophet. Um, and I want to accentuate one point because she talks about karma there. Please, karma is trajectory. And in that case, remember that we have a cycle of the Saturn Neptune where there was a mystery to something helpless, having to surrender something, and that something having implications. We had it also during COVID, where Saturn was sextiling Neptune conjoining Pluto. So, okay, there are attempts to, particularly around the longevity, to basically try to come over the trajectories of implication of actions, and that pertains to both crime, curses, whatnot. And um, and because what was done in the rituals that were done permeated the underwater, and the underwater, the Scorpio, okay, the underwater tells is to be rejuvenated. Now, okay, Scorpio is the purgatory. We are purging the use of oil and gas. I talk about it so much, but this is on a visceral level, on a soul level, on a collective level, on a soil level. And It's not going to look like that in the beginning. I talked about Nikola Tesla's energy and what prevents us, okay, because that came about. And this is the rituals associated with the oil pharmaceutical hidden wealth, the bloodletting addiction rituals. That thing was done on the soil. The earth itself needs to be cleansed from that. That's why the predictions of 2/3, the flood, and the people that were told that they are having the ticket out of the flood are exactly the people that not by the merit of what they not by the merit of, okay, how should I say that? Not by the merit of ritual abuse will anybody have a ticket to Noah's Ark. Okay, and this is, and it does again, okay, because I wanted to be cautious, because it's not about, oh, these people will not be able to escape the flood. No, it is about the rituals that were done, that are along the sky that punishes the land, humiliation rituals, bloodletting rituals, all of those things are being purged. Then, yes, can be longevity that we can live thousands of years, thousands of years, but not by what we now know, not by overcoming nature, not in the sense that we think. It has to do with the cycle of Sedna, and I talk a lot about what the dark astral, those rituals that cause world hunger, but not just with, because you just think about something practical to make this accessible also to people that are not like, shamanic thinkers. Um, Corruption, okay, byproducts of the industrial revolution. Where did they put the fluoride? In the food, in the soil, and not just the fluoride. Corruption to make money out of spreading disease and then spreading toxins as supposed cure. Okay, then of course it affects so much the world. So that needs to be purged. And the telos is that it does, or it is purged. The aftermath of Chernobyl was repolarity of procreation. Species that were not having sexual polarization began to have a sexual polarization, but it's a reset to the sexual polarization. It's not the same as what we know. This is why monotheistic religions have a hard time with that. Um, okay, and the telos is that we are purging those trajectories. And I said on my Scorpio video, just to halt, just to halt the practices that are harmful is enough to lift the frequency to curation. Miraculous curation that we didn't even know. Another point is that um, another point is that we're in the cycle of what was associated with Nineveh. We're in the 4 years cycle of eclipses that was associated with Nineveh, and Nineveh had to do with the end of the story where Nineveh repented. And Nineveh was like the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, okay? They were just doing things because the Mayan, from our perspective, modern perspective, the Mayans did it, the Aztecs did it. They went extinct. And, you know, even people that think, oh, they will sacrifice, appease the gods, and then save millions. But this is not actually working in that way. And it is our inner light that needs to come out to the surface. Um, okay, and this is where what people think that they need sacrifice, or what people think they will never be forgiven, is not so. And this is what allows to halt those things, and the halting of those things curates. I said when Jupiter, okay, and now is on Procyon, and I said, this is, I see very good thing. We will not be able to make a peace anymore by bloodletting rituals in the hidden, or trafficking, or wealth consolidation. By appeasing with those ways, we will no longer be able to make peace in this way, and said this is good because peace will actually be peace. Things that people did not think they can curate, and that was so hard to diagnose, are more possible to curate than people ever thought. The simple reason, those things are the simple reasons, and they have been affecting. Okay, one has trajectory to one trajectory. Okay, I talked about, you know, this corruption, interference, and so on and so forth. What it causes? Yes, warming of the glaciers. What is in the glaciers and underneath the ocean? Bacteria from the Spanish flu. Okay, but it is all about one thing and one thing only: the soil and the underwater wells need to curate from the bloodletting rituals. It crossed the threshold, and we can see it both on a mundane level and ecosystemic, and on a energy level. Even when we talk about energy in the practical, okay, the energy that Nikola Tesla came with, the soil is preparing to use energy that is actually sustainable. But no more with this type of rituals, with this type of trafficking and dark rituals, okay? That's what the soil needs to curate. And one way or another, it's curating. It will wash away what is not serving anymore. And this is not about shame or blame, even for people that washed away in that sense, that that are not staying, so to speak, then it's not like they're going to a bad place where that something terrible happens to them in the afterlife. No, it's simply about purifying the energy for life, for energy that supports life. Okay? Subjugation of one or another is antithetical to life. Whether it's in slavery, in gender, in racial, okay? A balance between work and rest, daylight and the night light. This is a Bulgarian prophetess that talked about, again, watch Krasi's video, Krasi Atasio, about the prophecy. Because the light of day is the sun, and the moon is the night. Now, each individual has their own cycle of attunement, but basically, even with energy and electricity, okay, the point, I said this a while ago in my Spirit of Matter on YouTube, or Jupiter Point of Dallas on the BitChute, or Rockefeller Astrological on BitChute. And I said this: the point of electricity, you know what? I don't even remember if I recorded that. The point of electricity is not to work endlessly and tirelessly. No, it was safe to have light, okay, but okay. The point of electricity. This is why electricity is so expensive still, because the point of electricity is not to enslave. I will need to reconnect with the point. I will need to meditate on Nikola Tesla, because it's not just about, there's a reason we have free energy invented, there's a reason was not yet used, there's a reason it's supposed to do something in the world. That being said, when we work the hours of the light of day, not in the North Pole, because that would be half a year. Ooh. The reason we work the light of day and then night is not to do slavery. Because it affects the endocrine system. It is also why we will have such longevity we never predicted, because basically the lack of, how should I say that, any trajectory of subjugation, whether of sun or moon, gender, race, yes, even hemispheres, east and west, north and south, is shortening life. And coming out of that, we would be able to have longevity. But to be very honest, is not about fear of death. It's joy of living, but before that, it's balance, dynamic balance. It's a balance. Okay, and so the thing about these times is that what was deemed impossible becomes, think about, in technology it's easier for us to see that, but in well-being, longevity, and joy of living, we think is utopia. Both Neptune and the Mars are in 29 degree. Neptune of Pisces, Mars of Scorpio. Those that are focused on attacking the light will go with the flood. And it's not a shame and blame. It's because the soul wants to the light. But this light can be on earth. Think about the aftermath of the Second World War. Women got right to vote. Yes, a lot of laws that prohibit child labor. It's not anywhere near utopia. And now the world is setting up. I saw this since 2017. I said it took two generations of men and the women for women have right to vote. Okay, and the women. You watch Albina's video in the privileged few. She talks about a lady that was harming women until another empress came and held her accountable. Okay, so also women, okay, that were harming women in those ways, they will also be washed with the flood. Now, in the Second World War, two generations of men and women, before women got right to vote, have bank account. Yes, it was because John D. Rockefeller could tax the women. Okay, but the thing is that 2017, and I clearly saw it. I said science is progressing at the speed of an Italian strike. But at the same time, I saw Renaissance coming. And it was fascinating to look into philosophy of science, where we always look into scientific revolution and the body-mind question in the medicines, fractions of a millisecond, not just before COVID, but before a scientific revolution. And I said very clearly, if it took two generations of men to die And by the way, it's the person that was they programmed them by ritual abuse. So he was programmed to attack and to try to traffic me. From him, I know about what I said because he was one of the teachers. And I said, if it took 2 generations of men to die, then my gut feeling was, then imagine how much death would be for sexual sovereignty. And indeed, I watched Krasi. She said, with Master Ben Saduno, a Bulgarian prophet, that Rudolf Steiner was his student. Okay, so the West knows Rudolf Steiner, but they don't know Master Ben Saduno, that I know through Krasi and in Lada Duncheva's channel, but this one through Krasi Atasio's channel. Um, and he said what the Third World War is going to be 500 million deaths, but doesn't have to die anything. And I saw it clearly in 2017. And I saw, I said, nobody has to die. And remember all of my channels, how many times I repeat that? I said, nobody has to die. It's over nothing, okay? Because it's just about sexual sovereignty. Like if sexual sovereignty granted today, 0 deaths. Not only 0 deaths, we will live to 1,000. Even the sickest people, one of the things that I saw, I looked into many things, and I ran into cancer studies as well. I just looked into the medicines, okay? And I teach German to a doctor, family doctor. Her colleague had research. Now, some things I know from targeted individuals is satellite frequency or laser technology that make people believe they have a cancer, and then they go to surgeries. This is part of the explanation. But another thing, their research was people that were terminally ill with cancer. I don't remember what type. They got not chemo, okay, some sort of medication, and they began to have remission. Then the research stopped, no budget, and the people returned to their deaths. Now you say, Shirley, how is that optimistic? Because what is undergoverning that is such, because of the rituals on children, because of the lack of sexual sovereignty. If we have sexual sovereignty, not abuse children, today we can live to 1,000. People that were ill so much so that people thought they're on their deathbed, it would be like the time, and again, they would be like the time, yes, I'm completely secular, but like the time where Christ walked on earth, because he was just a doctor, a teacher, and the miraculous healing is absolutely possible, because when we stop the reason for the disease, then people have miraculous healing. Okay? It's science, but it looks like something of, we find mythical names for it, but it's simple science. If we stop doing the thing that causes disease, disease curates. Now, venues of longevity we didn't think possible, simply because we do slavery, we do human sacrifice. It's kind of like the best of thinkers gave the worst of advice. And why? Because they're born into those rituals, societies, and treason that are, so challenging. And if you watch podcasts like Annika Luka's podcast, you begin to see shedding light on those societies, on the lives there. And it's not to bring us down. Okay? And so, just as I saw, and I said, so imagine how many people need to die for sexual sovereignty. And it's like, nobody actually needs to die for this. Like, it's so stupid, you know? And I do not underestimate the curation of shame and all those trajectories, and not at all. But the thing is, I also don't put artificial threshold to healing where there aren't any. People can heal today. And it's important to say that. When those rituals stop, if racism stops today, people heal today. If no rituals done, put on a real estate, on a soil, in the forests, soil heals today. Because it is en masse what's preventing, and not only that, the power of the soul to heal is beyond what people even believe. It's just that so much energy was invested to keep things on wrong trajectory and over nothing. And it's true, just like when a person goes to a doctor and says, I don't know, they have a toothache, okay? Then doctor says, okay, you need to remineralize, you need to eat nourishing food. But I said, but doctor, I don't have a soil, I don't have a this, I don't have a that. That the soil is not organic and so on. Okay, then maybe you need to travel to where the soil is organic. To By the way, Krusty lives in Bulgaria, next to a place where they come to see Sirius rising every year. And I remember when I was in Bulgaria, it was 2007, and we were in the mountains, and the water was so pure that I did not need any shampoo or anything. It was very cold, but I just need to pour water on my hair, and it was silky smooth. And the air was so clear that I began to heal. So, okay, just think about the power of that. And just like that, when people stop doing the things that keep something toxic, then something can regenerate and heal. For people that stop smoking, their lungs begin to heal. They don't stay congested. When people stop drinking alcohol and curate what was underneath addiction, with connection, whether it's a grief or whatnot, the liver doesn't stay toxic. It regenerates. In fact, the power of the regeneration of the liver is unprecedented. And it's the commander of the army, according to Chinese traditional medicines. Did you know that long COVID was coinciding with rituals that were done on purpose to bring all the ailments in the trajectory of people? They were meant as curses, but it could also create healing. Because people were forced to deal with all those trajectories. Some people named it long COVID. But basically, it was curses. It was rituals as well. And this affects also how entirely we see astrology. And I saw that the Hellenistic division of the courtesan, cartesan, day sect, night sect, together with the even pre-Hellenistic astrology and the lots, okay, the Arabic lots, that they were based on curses. This is why concrete astrology is so predictive. And because none of those existed in a world where people did not have a subjugation. Not in race, not in slavery, not in gender, definitely not of children. And I saw that those things are also beginning to curate, beginning to heal. Miraculous healing is happening. And those that stay with the mockery, humiliation rituals, they washed with the flood. Scorpio is not about humiliation. Okay? It's the water of the well. It's the most filtered water. Some of the purest water that we have within the soil. And just to think that we live in a world where we think that Scorpio has to do with humiliation is how much the soil need to purge and rejuvenate of the well water. The purest, there is hardly purest form of water than the most filtered water. Now it's filled, but it's the most filtered water. That the rain water that drops to underground water. That's Scorpio. There's nothing more clear than that. And to think that we live in a century, in a time, in an era, in a millennia, where the astrologers associate the Scorpio not just with purging and rejuvenation, but with, or the poison is the medicine, with humiliation, with mockery, with degradation. People worship the penis by rape. Is anti. Did you know that rape actually people that, I'm sorry, orgasm on violence, they get erectile dysfunction. Just think how out of touch people are with what the world organically, naturally is. And that's because of that the lower astral. Now people could blame the oil and gas. No, the oil and gas came following many trajectories that led to us taking the resources, okay, because the water was already so spiritually polluted that even the mass death of the oil and gas drainage was actually relatively benefic. It made the damage physical. It made the damage visible. Unfortunately, for those that need those proofs, okay, how should I say that? Those are the people that died Second World War. None of them have to die today, but they cannot stay to the world where is no longer that division, no longer this subjugation. Okay? They just cannot, they're not on the frequency of that world. Okay? And yes, many of them were told the grand illusion that they are going to be on Noah's Ark. But that's not what's going to be. And it's not about fault. Okay, the people that weren't told, that didn't arrive anywhere near the frequency of truth, then for them it's easier to facilitate, to change the frequency by crossing over. However, nobody has to cross over. Okay, just so that I mention these timelines because it's important to talk about that timeline and to show that no, it's not that these people their fate is so and these people their fate is so, these are sinners, no, it's actually the time of Nineveh where people get the chance to see. Okay, think about, even think about the Holocaust. I have ancestors Jews. And if people think the Holocaust happened because people were not modest, because because they were too secular, no, no. Child marriage, rape within marriage, rape as celebration of marriage, dark occult bloodletting rituals under the guise of in the synagogues. And I will say that my grandfather survived. There was something. My mother never let me too close next to my grandfather because there was fear that he would do something harmful. Okay? Out of respect for my mother, privacy, I never talked about that. To me, he didn't harm me. But my mother never let me too close next to him. And also, once he cursed he used to curse casually. From Sarni, I don't know. Um, and he said, wished that my mother would have black ears. which later he felt sorry for when she divorced, and he brought her money as much as he could. And of course, naturally, it was shown, he didn't even need to say that he regretted that. If my entire grandfather's family would be born, would be alive, would my mother even get to choose who she marries? And she married a Dutchman. And to divorce, and to marry at age 20 something, okay, with the Venus maturation, to give birth at her Saturn maturation. Would I? Probably not. Would I even be born? Because my soul did not want to be born to such world. It's not PC to talk about that. My grandfather was the reason that he was, and again, he never harmed me, never touched me, never. Do you know how many families across religions would it not be preferred that the death was not as horrid? Of course. Would it not be preferred that to begin with no one would ever have to deal with those things? Absolutely. No one had to die. And then some people says because women not modest. No. Sexual sovereignty. Children are not for marriage. And yes, to heal. I remember I said something on how should I say it? That we need to meet our non-erotic needs before having sex. And even if we're 60 or 70. Okay. Yes, I looked for my 2, 3 decades. I looked for the sex that I do want, not with others. I was just like, okay, what kind of sex do I do want? What kind of sex do I do enjoy? And it was a complete blind spot to me to have emotional nourishment that is non-erotic. I didn't even know. As child, I came to the world. I was untouchable. But oh my gosh, the nurse that was a doula to my mama, she said that me like an eel because I would I would go. It was impossible to hold me. Now they were doing nervous system hacking, so there was something about the touch. Really? She said so that I was like an eel, that I was not able to be held for 1 second. And I was born in the 10th month with this black curly hair. Later it became a little bit brownish, light brown, or dark brown, light brown, you know. But yes, But that my father said I look like Arabic child, and I look exotic. I know. um, but this is exactly showing. I know Sedna story. Fine, Sedna is over my Chiron. But this is just to show how we were on Earth purging a certain frequencies, and certain babies could not even be born. Now, I don't ascribe to the fact that the babies that were born chose to be born to this. Not at all. I don't go with that trajectory. I, I would look at it from composition, astrological composition. Certain astrological charts could not be birthed yet without growing from the previous charts. Okay, and I think that settles the question of, thinking that, some people chose to go to the world. I don't think people chose to go to be raped as infants, and no. And humanity needed to grow out of those charts for better and better charts to be born. We see it also cycle of family. Okay, with the outer planets we usually see it with certain aspect that appear. So with Saturn, Pluto, if I would have the Saturn square Pluto, there would be another person that has the Saturn conjunction Pluto, and I would know another person that has the Saturn conjunction to my Pluto. Okay, so, and then the Saturn sextile, and okay, and that, um, and it goes in a web of relations, because we go through that as humanity. Even the people that receive the people that receive the prophecy, or people that receive the predictive abilities, and this I thank Light, because she talked about the fact that sometimes the people that receive the qualities, and I saw something about diabetes. So I had a neighbor that had diabetes, and she did something, and then aside of that were also other trajectories, and I had sugar drops from something that was prescribed. And then today I realized that she may have had these sugar drops from something that she was prescribed. But it has to do all the way back to sexual sovereignty. My grandmother died of complications of diabetes. I, Saturn hour. Oh, midheaven on the 22, close to Saturn. Now, people don't like when people talk about this, because it triggers stuff. But this is not a trigger of doom. The other way around. vertex on my 22 Mars. Teachings about points of intervention to prevent murder. And in that case, it's a global mass murder. You see, I'm not only angry. I also have teachings to prevent to prevent the problems. Um, and the thing is that the people that receive the ability to predict, I have lot of divination, 29 degree Scorpio in the ninth house. Okay, so it's world predictions. It's Scorpio, it's not like, it's ruled by 22 Mars, so I can predict the underlying causes behind holocausts. And unfortunately, yes, as child I saw things that I couldn't quite explain. Um, there was something with, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Um, but the people that receive the predictive, even the people that receive the prophecy, um, is unexpected both to them and to people around them. Because, and that's the point of that. Because it's about listening to the disincluded. Even for me, I'm in my Neptune square, and I had to come off the echelon. It was nothing, it was an accidental echelon. I just went to study to get away from my troubles. Okay. I'm broadcasting from Israel, Palestine, mind you. um, and in half that's true. But this is also where it's not, how should I say that? Even in 2017, it was when I was disincluded from even the people that were the voices of the Me Too. Because I did not go with, I was not satisfied with superficial things. Okay. Or superficial explanations. And so I wasn't receiving that from the point of view of having a big authority in something. Even with astrology, there are people who do astrology more years than I'm alive, and people that are technical geniuses and so on and so forth. Um, and yet, when I read a chart, something, you know, because it's exactly about listening. The most predictive things are received around the agenda to enslave people and androgynous and whatnot, was from person that was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he told me, "You look 200." I said, "Thank you very much." He said, "No, you're a young soul." Some people told me I'm an old soul. Some people told me I'm a young soul. I don't know. Um, and he talked to me about literally everything. Everything. And he was such person that people